More than 2 weeks after the alleged murders of two University of South Florida doctoral students, police today announced the positive identification of the second victim, Nahida Bristy. Her remains were discovered earlier this week by kayakers.
As one of our kayakers is fishing, his fishing line snags on a bag.
The body of Bristy's friend and fellow student, Jamil Limon, was discovered bound with duct tape on the side of a highway 1 week ago. Hisham Abu Garbi, Limon's roommate, has been charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder.
The details of this investigation are gruesome.
The sheriff also provided information on how the suspect used ChatGPT in the days before the killings.
5 discoveries. 1 apartment. 2 doctoral students who never made it home. Welcome to the evidence room. Today we are breaking down one of the most forensically detailed cases to come out of Florida in recent years. 2 PhD students, Zamil Ahmad Limon and Nahida Sultana Bristy, both 27, both from Bangladesh, both building futures at the University of South Florida, vanished on April 16, 2026. No witnesses. No distress calls. No struggle reported. Just silence. But the apartment they disappeared from was not silent at all. It was full of evidence. Blood. Purchases. Digital searches. Personal items that had no business being where they were found. Before Hisham Salah Abu Garbi said a single word to police, that apartment had already told investigators everything they needed to know. Stay locked in, because by the end of this breakdown, you will understand exactly how investigators built an airtight case from one apartment. Before we get into the evidence, here is what we knew going in. Zamil Ahmad Limon, 27 years old. Doctoral student at the University of South Florida studying geography and environmental science. His thesis used artificial intelligence to track and monitor environmental changes. He was not just studying, he was contributing something meaningful to his field. And by April 2026, he was days away from presenting that thesis. Almost finished. Almost done. Nahida Sultana Bristy. Also 27. Also from Bangladesh. Doctoral student in chemical engineering at USF, one of the most demanding programs in any university. Sharp, focused, and fully committed to the work. The two were in a relationship. Genuinely in love. Their families confirmed they were discussing marriage and had plans to travel back to Bangladesh together that summer. Every day, without fail, both of them called home. Their families in Bangladesh depended on those calls. On April 16, 2026, Zamil was last seen at his residence on Avalon Heights Boulevard at 9 a.m. Nahida was last seen at the NES building on the USF Tampa campus at 10 a.m. Their last phone contact with each other was just before 3 p.m. that afternoon. After that, both phones went dark. By April 17, a family friend contacted campus police and reported them missing. That report opened an investigation that would lead directly to one address. The apartment on Avalon Heights Boulevard. Before we get to the apartment, here is who was living in it. Hisham Salah Abu Garbi. 26 years old. He had previously been enrolled at the University of South Florida, but by April 2026, he was no longer a student. No active program. No campus obligations. Yet he was living in the same off-campus apartment as Zamil Limon on Avalon Heights Boulevard. Shared common spaces. Separate bedrooms. 2 people under the same roof with very different reasons for being there. Now here is what the record shows on Hisham before any of this happened. Prior arrests, documented. Domestic violence allegations, documented. A pattern of aggressive behavior that had been reported more than once and sat on file without producing any meaningful intervention. And then there is the detail that stands out above everything else in his background. His own brother filed a protective order against him. In that filing, the brother stated that Hisham would wake up in the middle of the night and scream that he was God. Not agitated. Not argumentative. Screaming. That he was God. Repeatedly. In the middle of the night, his own family felt unsafe enough to go to court. And people close to Zamil confirmed that he had expressed discomfort about his roommate. Something about Hisham felt wrong to him. That discomfort was documented. That record existed. And none of it was enough to change what happened next. Discovery number 1 did not come from the apartment walls or the floors or the trash. It came from a screen. When investigators pulled Hisham's digital activity, what they found was not the behavior of someone who acted on impulse. It was the behavior of someone who had been thinking about this for days. Start with April 7th. Hisham goes on Amazon and purchases duct tape. That is the first item on record. Over the days that follow, he purchases fire starter, charcoal, trash bags, lighter fluid. Then Lysol wipes. Then Febreze. Every single one of those purchases was made before April 16th. Then comes April 13th, 3 days before the murders. Hisham opens ChatGPT and types. What happens if a human is put in a black garbage bag and thrown in a dumpster? The AI flagged the question as dangerous and declined to engage fully. Hisham's response. How would they find out? He was not testing the system. He was looking for a practical answer to a problem he was already planning to create. Then on April 15th, 1 day before April 16th, he is back. This time searching whether he could legally keep a gun at home without a license. He also searched whether neighbors would be able to hear a gunshot. And whether Apple could identify a new iPhone user. He was thinking about weapons. About noise. About being traced. And after Zamil and Nahida were reported missing, Hisham searched what the term missing endangered adult actually means. He was not grieving. He was not concerned. He was monitoring the investigation from the inside. Discovery number 1 established intent before a single drop of blood was ever found. Discovery number 2 was waiting the moment police walked through the front door. The smell hit first. Bleach. Heavy, concentrated, and completely out of place for a normal living space. That level of cleaning does not happen without a reason. And in a forensic context, that reason is almost always the same. Someone was trying to remove evidence. But here is the problem with cleaning a crime scene. Bleach removes what the eye can see. It does not remove what forensic enhancement can find. When investigators applied forensic tools to that apartment, the results were extensive. Blood in the entry area. Blood in the kitchen. Blood in the hallways. And blood in Hisham's own bedroom. Not a single room had been spared. Going through the trash, investigators pulled out duct tape with apparent blood on it. They also recovered a tissue with apparent blood. Both items had been discarded, but neither had gone far enough to disappear. Then there were 2 details that required no forensic tools at all. Zamil's bedroom door was locked from the outside. Not from the inside. From the outside. Meaning whoever locked it was not Zamil. And Zamil's scooter was still parked outside the apartment. Untouched. Exactly where he had left it. A man who used that scooter to get everywhere had apparently vanished without it. Those 2 details alone told a clear story. Zamil did not leave that apartment on his own. Discovery number 2 confirmed what the digital footprint had already suggested. The crime scene had been actively worked on after the fact. Just not well enough. Discovery number 3 answered the question investigators needed answered most urgently. Was Nahida ever inside that apartment? The answer came in the form of a pair of shoes. Women's size 6. Found inside Zamil's locked bedroom. The exact same shoes Nahida Sultana Bristy had been wearing on the USF Tampa campus the morning she was last seen. Her shoes were there. She had been there. Then investigators found Nahida's ID, tucked inside a pink clutch hidden inside the apartment. Not misplaced. Not left behind accidentally. Hidden. But Hisham had not stopped there. The personal belongings of both Zamil and Nahida, items from their everyday lives, had been thrown into a trash compactor. When forensic teams examined that compactor, they recovered blood evidence from both victims inside it. He had tried to erase them. Physically. Deliberately. And then a third roommate came forward. He told investigators that on April 17, the morning after both victims were last seen, he watched Hisham load multiple cardboard boxes onto a cart and wheel them out to the dumpsters. When he asked about it, Hisham told him it was just old clothes. Nobody clears out that many boxes the morning after their roommate goes missing. Discovery number 3 placed Nahida inside that apartment and confirmed that Hisham had made a deliberate effort to erase every trace of both of them. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these 5 discoveries do you think was the most damaging to Hisham's case? Drop your answer in the comments. I will be reading every single one. April 24, 2026. 8 days after Zamil and Nahida were last seen alive. A body was discovered on the Howard Frankland Bridge in Tampa. It was Zamil Ahmed Limon. He had been concealed inside large black utility trash bags, the same type of bags Hisham had purchased on Amazon days before April 16. His wrists were bound. His ankles were bound. And his body had been physically folded to fit inside the bag. That is not the work of someone who panicked. That is the work of someone who had thought through every step. The medical examiner conducted a full examination. The findings were extensive. Multiple lacerations across the body. Multiple stab wounds. Advanced decomposition consistent with the number of days that had passed since April 16. The cause of death was ruled a homicide. Court documents confirmed that a bladed instrument had been used, not just on Zamil, but on both victims. Multiple times. The same weapon. The same apartment. The same hands. Now connect that back to what the apartment had already told us. Blood in the entry area. Blood in the kitchen. Blood in the hallways. Blood in Hisham's bedroom. Duct tape with apparent blood. A tissue with apparent blood. A trash compactor containing blood evidence from both victims. Every single one of those findings now had a direct forensic line connecting them to Zamil's body on that bridge. Discovery number 4 did not introduce new information in isolation. It confirmed everything the apartment had already said, and gave the physical evidence a cause of death to stand behind. The case was no longer circumstantial. It was complete. Discovery number 5 was the last piece. During the search of Hisham's residence, investigators recovered a human body part. DNA testing was conducted. The results came back, and they matched Nahida Sultana Bristy. That was the confirmation. That was the answer to the question that had been hanging over this entire investigation since April 17. Police have stated they cannot confirm whether her full remains will ever be recovered. The family, thousands of miles away in Bangladesh, may never have a complete body to bring home. May never be able to give Nahida the proper Islamic burial she deserves. Her brother went to social media. And he posted 4 words. My sister is no more. The family has made their requests clear: justice through the courts, the return of her belongings, and repatriation of whatever can be brought back to Bangladesh. Discovery number 5 removed all remaining doubt. It answered the question the family had been dreading since the calls from Tampa stopped coming. And it closed the forensic picture that had been building, discovery by discovery, from the moment investigators first walked through that apartment door. When investigators sat down with Hisham, the evidence already had him surrounded. The interrogation was not a search for answers. It was a test of how long his story would hold. It did not hold long. Police noticed a bandage wrapped around his pinky finger. He said he cut himself cutting an onion. Reasonable enough until police asked one follow-up question. What were you making? He could not answer. A fresh cut. A kitchen explanation. And he could not remember what he was cooking. From there, his story changed 3 times. First, he was home all day. Then, he had driven to Clearwater to look for fishing spots, but had deleted his map history. Then, he had driven Zamal and Nahida to Clearwater Beach himself and dropped them off alive. 3 versions. 3 attempts. All 3 destroyed by the same evidence. Vehicle tracking placed him at the exact location of Zamal's phone signal. His own phone data confirmed every key location, the apartment, the route, the bridge. Every story he told walked directly into data that had already recorded the truth. When the physical evidence is this strong, the interrogation becomes a formality. Hisham did not confess. He did not need to. The evidence had already spoken for him. April 24, 2026. The same day Zamal's body was identified on the Howard Franklin Bridge. Police received a domestic violence call at Hisham's family home. Deputies arrived and removed the other family members from the property. Hisham refused to come out. He barricaded himself inside. Law enforcement deployed drones. Robots. Negotiators worked the scene for 20 minutes. Then the door opened. Hisham Salah Bugharbi walked out with his hands raised, wearing nothing but a blue towel. He was charged with 2 counts of first-degree premeditated murder. Additional charges included unlawful disposal of a body, tampering with evidence, false imprisonment, and battery. Prosecutors filed a 23-page motion. No bond requested. A capital sentence remains on the table. Here is what that arrest confirmed analytically. The case was fully built before he ever walked out that door. His surrender changed nothing. The evidence had closed around him days earlier. Let us bring this together. 5 discoveries. 1 apartment. A digital footprint that established intent before the crime happened. A physical crime scene that had been cleaned, but not thoroughly enough. Personal items that placed Nahida inside that apartment and confirmed Hisham's attempt to erase both victims. A body recovered 8 days later that gave the forensic evidence a cause of death. And a DNA match that closed the case on Nahida completely. Each discovery built on the last. Together, they constructed one of the most forensically documented cases in recent Florida history. This case is a clear example of how digital evidence, physical forensics, and witness accounts work together to build something a defense cannot easily dismantle. Hisham Salah Bugharbi is currently awaiting trial. A capital sentence remains possible. Zamal Ahmed Limon and Nahida Sultana Bristy were scholars. They were somebody's children. They deserved to make it home. If you want more evidence-based case breakdowns like this one, subscribe to the Evidence Room. Share this video with someone who follows true crime. And tell me in the comments, based purely on the evidence, do you think the prosecution has everything they need for a conviction?